Hey guys, my name is Josh, and today I'll be showing you how to make an awesome hand spinner or fidget spinner out of simple Munsen rings in under 10 minutes with virtually no tools. Really hope you enjoy! To make a single spinner, you will need two 22mm Munsen rings, two M5 5mm acorn nuts, a single standard 608 skate bearing. I'll be using a Bones Reds bearing for this, two 5/16 inch jam nuts, a single 5/16 inch by 1/2 inch set screw, some coarse sandpaper, and a screwdriver. If you would like to utilize both halves of the rings and make a second spinner, as I will be doing, simply add two more acorn nuts, a second bearing, two more jam nuts, and a second set screw. These acorn nuts and Munsen rings can be a little tricky to find if you are in the States like I am, just because they are metric and the Munsen rings themselves are actually only made in the UK. I actually ended up ordering both of them off of Amazon, which worked great for me. I've also heard you can find them on eBay, and I'm sure other places as well. Just keep in mind that if you are ordering them from the UK, the shipping might be a little expensive and it will take some time to get here. The packages for the jam nuts and the set screws look like this. These will make your bearing caps and are not required to make your spinner function. However, they do make these spinners a lot easier and more pleasant to use. I just wanted to show you guys the packages really quick, as these can be a little tricky to find. To get started, we are going to disassemble both of the Munsen rings. Once we have done that, we are now ready for sanding. This is important because these rings are sometimes a bit bigger than the bearing, and we don't want the bearing sliding around or falling out. There are many different ways to fix this, including some thin double-sided tape or electrical tape placed on the inside of the rings here. This does work, but it creates some weird gaps that I don't really like, so today I'll be showing you what I think is a better method, which is to simply take off some of the material on the inside of the prongs here using sandpaper. This will allow our ring to close a little bit more and to fit tightly over the bearing while keeping everything nice and flush. Also, remember while you are sanding to periodically check the rings over the bearing to make sure you take off just the right amount of material. So let's do that now. Now that that's done and we have everything sanded and fitting well, we are ready for assembly. To do this, simply take your bearing and sandwich it in between the two halves of the ring. Then while keeping it centered, insert one of your screws and screw on your first acorn nut. Then flip the whole thing around. Insert your second screw going the opposite direction and screw on your second acorn nut. Make sure not to over tighten these. If you do, it will put extra stress on the bearing and will drastically reduce your spin times. They should be just tight enough to stay on. Next, take your set screw and screw it on just a thread or two onto one of the nuts. Then insert that through the bearing hole and screw on your second nut. And these should be nice and tight because you want them to stay on. And there you go. You have completed your first spinner. The process works exactly the same for the other halves of your rings, except this time you will probably need a screwdriver as the screw holes in these parts are threaded. And there you go, now you have your very own Munsen ring hand spinners. I want to really quickly go over a few final tips before I end this video. The first one is to make sure to buy enough of these rings that you can mix and match the parts. This is very beneficial to help you find two parts that balance out nicely. Sometimes the castings just aren't very good, and that causes weight imbalances, which just completely throws off the spinner. This one took me a while to balance, but because I bought 4 rings, I was eventually able to find 2 sections that matched pretty well. The second one is the length of the set screws that you use for the bearing caps. Now, I used a 1/2 inch set screw, as I said, but that is not necessarily ideal. That is just the longest one I could find. As you can see, it doesn't quite fill out the nuts here, and because of that, the nuts sometimes don't stay on very well. So if you can find a 5/8 inch or 3/4 inch length, that would be even better. Another tip is that most of the threaded sections on these spinners tend to work themselves loose over time, and you should be able to fix this pretty easily with some beeswax or thread lock or some other product that will help to increase the friction between the threads. Just keep in mind that if you are like me, you will probably be disassembling these fairly often to clean the bearing. And here's a quick tip for those of you who have access to some basic tools. If you have access to a hacksaw and a vise, you can cut the heads off of 2 of your screws, and then when you assemble it, you can use 4 acorn nuts instead of 2, like this, to give it a unique look and feel. And the last thing is, if you're having a really hard time finding these jam nuts and set screws, or if you just want something a little bit simpler, you can always substitute them for some 5/16 inch by 1/2 inch bolts and 5/16 inch nuts. These work nicely. I don't like them near as much as the jam nuts and the set screw combo, but these are a lot cheaper and much easier to find. Well, there you go. Those are a few tips and variations on the main design to help you out or to give you some room to experiment if you try this for yourself. Out of all the spinners I have, these are some of my favorites. They look great and have a great balance and weight to them, and I just really love them. I sincerely hope you guys will try this for yourself, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. Well, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped you, and I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a like or a comment down below, and if you really loved it and want to see more, check out some of my other videos. I will have a few linked on the screen now for you to click on, and please subscribe. I try to post a new video every other week, and I really want to help you out. I love answering questions, and I do my best to provide informative, educational, and entertaining content. Again, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.